Right. Let's get this thing started, shall we? Right, so first things first. Hello, everyone. This is kind of weird because the last time I streamed anything, I had like 7 concurrent viewers, and now I have 50. So this is a whole new thing for me. Thanks all for coming. Right, we're gonna give it a couple more minutes just to let everyone say hi. Hi Phil, hi Xscale, Maple Leaf Makers, you're fairly new, which is kind of scary because there's a few big names in the chat right now. Joe from 3D Maker Noob, Tech is here, there's a whole load of people here. Right, so hope everyone is doing well. Get to it. Yes, I will get to it. I do have a bit of housekeeping to get through first. First things first, I need to explain what we're doing tonight. The idea is we're just going to get through the unboxing of the LDO Motors kit. Now, I have gone through these already. The only reason I had gone through these is because there's a few prototype parts that aren't for this Milo, or sorry, aren't for this machine. They're for another machine that I'm working on currently, and you didn't need to see that. So the boxes are open. I have had a look through them. Second thing second, I'm not going to explain why just yet, but this channel is going to be changing around a little bit. It's going to become a channel used for something very different in a few months' time. So this is potentially the last kind of free stream I do. I'm definitely still going to be streaming on it. We're definitely still going to do some builds on it. Don't worry too much about that. Third but not least, I have a new camera, thanks to Jason from LDO. You might see that the quality is a little bit better, and I can also do funky things now, like, hopefully this works. There we go. I now have the old camera set up to the side so we can get a better view of everything. Right. Without further ado, let's get into the unboxing of this kit. Right. So, kit came in 3 boxes. The third box is kind of filled with kind of stuff that isn't for this machine, so we'll get through to what's included in the other 2 first. So first box is all frame kit. This is a bloody heavy box. You better join and help during my live build of Milo. Yes, I will definitely be doing that. All right. Ooh, wrong button. There we go. Right, so first things first, extrusions. There's a lot of them. They're heavy as hell. Be careful when you pick up this box. All right. So be careful when you get your kits because these will have lead screws inside of them. It's just to protect them a little bit more during shipping. All right. These have they should all be pre-tapped, the ones that need to be tapped, and they've actually anodized them post-cut, so you should have a nice anodized surface all the way through the part and on the ends. There's a price already? No, there's not a price just yet. I will say we've been given a kind of ballpark price. We're not allowed to say it because it's obviously LDO's prerogative to do that. It's lower than you're expecting, put it like that. It was definitely lower than we were expecting. Right. In the same kit, you're also going to find all your corner brackets for things. Right. These are what you use to actually bolt the y-axis down to the table, and you're also going to find your plates in here. I have one question. Are you Milo designer? Yes, I am the Milo designer. So I designed V1.5. I'm also going to be the one designing Milo going forward, at least for now. I'm also the founder of the project. That doesn't mean that I'm the only one who works on it. There are a lot of other people who work on it. You might recognize Phil, Dave, Tech, all those kind of people are all still part of the team, and they do help out. Right, so we've got the Z plate here. Right, all nice and anodized. They have, you might not see it on camera too much, but there is a very, very nice, subtle pattern on the anodizing for these. Right, and then in the same box, last but not least, there's going to be the XY plate. Now, the XY plate does have a direction to it, right? It's explained in the manual. It's not something that you can install backwards or forwards. The easiest way to check if these the right direction for these is if you get the XY transition part of Milo, of the printed parts for Milo, and if you can fit them up against the back of here, and this piece should be flush up against the back of the plate, then that's the right direction. This is pointing backwards towards the Z column, right? But again, same hard anodized finish. Really nice, really lovely. Right, so that's one box down. Alright, we'll do the second box now. So, I think these are rails. These feel like rails. Yep. Oh yeah, they're gonna be awesome. Right, so these are the rail kits for Milo. These are MGN 15, if anyone's interested, and the carriages are MGN 15C. Make a real dog breakfast of this. Right, the moment you get these, it's a good idea, even if you're not building it straight away, to clean off the old oil and put a little bit of fresh oil over them, just so that they don't rust over whilst you're storing them. And when you do get these, make sure that you mark the carriages and the rails, so just put a 1, and a 1, because you should keep these together. They are matched to the rail themselves. So that looks like the Y-axis rails there. These should be the Z-axis rails. Is it easy access to grease ports on the MGN 15s? No, but you got to be careful with the grease ports on high wind clones. I'm not too sure about the LDO ones, but if you do self-source, a lot of them have the access hole for a grease port, but it's blocked halfway through. It's a cheap clone, right? It's not going to have that. So I'm not too sure about these ones. If we open them up, you should be greasing these before you put them on the rails anyway. There's a grub screw there. Alex, just like you get the grease. Yeah, you can get a syringe. If you can do the syringe, or with the Milo files comes a greasing tool, and all you have to do is print that out. It's got some channels so that you can use a grease gun or just a tube of grease to press grease into the bearing ways. It does come with the Milo pack. Yeah, so these are real grease ports, right? A lot of the cheap high wind clones don't have these, right? So you will be able to use a grease gun on these MGN 15s from the LDO kit. LDO motors. Linear rails is LDO OEM, same as Voron. Perfect. Awesome. So those are the Z-axis rails, and we'll do... These will be the X-axis rails. Right. I really need an unboxing knife now. Hi, Jason. I'm guessing it's Jason. Right. Yep. So those are the X-axis rails. They'll be the longest rails that you'll get. Stock build with these will be 340 in X, 120 in Z, and 160 in Y. Right. These look like they'll be the table extrusions for the X-axis extrusions. Yeah, so these will be the X-axis extrusions, and again, be careful when you're opening these up because they have linear rails inside. Sorry, not the linear rails, the lead screws inside them. Yeah, 30 kilos of reasonable. It's a heavy machine. Milo's a fat boy, okay? Now don't go judging. He needs to be. Alright, put those off to the side for now. Awesome. And I feel like these are the top part of the table. Will there be an assembly manual or just CAD? There is already an assembly manual. It's on the GitHub, or if you go to the website, go to the document shed. It's literally just a tab that says document shed, and it has the most up-to-date version of the manual, and it's in a slightly different format. The manuals that I made about a year ago for this machine are the kind of Voron style manuals, so if you prefer those, you can get the option of both. So these are the extrusions that would go on the top of the electronics table. All right. And now for my favorite part. Now, if you watch the original prototype kit build, we wouldn't have had one of these, right? So it didn't come with the original prototype kit that I showed off a while ago, but this will come with the final kit. So if you're new to the project, Milo is its own thing, and then we also have a sub-project called Fixated. Now, Fixated covers all your basically projects for fixturing. So the only thing we have in there right now is what we call the fixated plates, and they come in two styles. They come in the full Monty and then the continental breakfast, and that just means the full Monty has M6 dowel pin holes as well as M5 holes, and then the continental breakfast has M5 threaded holes only, and then there's a slim version of both. And what these are used for is just placing stock on the table, having a nice flat reference surface at all times. The LDO kit's going to come with a continental breakfast just because it's the most cost-effective one. And you can get by without having dowel pins if you don't need them. Is there a month or quarter targeted for first release? You'll have to ask Jason on that one. Right. So like I said, this is the continental breakfast. So these are extremely flat surfaces with M5 threaded. The LDO ones come pre-tapped. The ones, if you were self-sourcing, there are laser files to make these pre-tapped, and then you can tap them yourself at the end, and that just makes it a little bit cheaper for you. All right, and oh my god, these look amazing. Whoa, Jason, you did a great job with these. Right. Be gone. Right, and last box of the frame kit. I'm guessing this will be the Z column. Right, so this looks like it could be the X-axis C-beam. Yep. Not quite. Right. Again, these look so good. Give me time to figure out where I'm going to put it. Yeah. Do you want to know an interesting fact? I have built 3 Milo V1.5s, but because I live in a flat, I've never been able to use my own machines, so I have to send them out to like Dave on the team to do all my testing once I finish building it. And then he comes back saying, my design work is terrible, be better, basically. And then I'd be better. Perfect. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pile all these extrusions back in here. And then I can move those around. Right, so that's the frame kit done. We'll move on to the second box. This is looking proper big. Yeah, it's a huge machine compared to a 3D printer. Right. Second box. Right. So, I'll start off with the bottom panel. Unfortunately, these aren't the nicest peels in the world. When they get to these fan cutouts, they tend to break off. They're great up until then. And these are just a sheet of acrylic. A laser cut acrylic. And then I believe these are the FMJs. What does an off-the-shelf CNC of similar size go for? The only real comparable one I've seen is the Carvera, and that's not as good in cut. It's just a very feature-rich machine, but it's still got a dinky old 500-watt spindle. It's not really meant for aluminium. It just has a tool changer, and everyone loves to have features over actual cutting power for some reason. And that's like $5 grand, 5.5, something like that. Right. I'm making a pig's ear of this. Right, Is there a plan in the future for a bolt-on 4th axis? Not for V1.5. It's not in the schedule for V1.5. V1.5 is what I'm calling end of development. Other than a few small changes, maybe some quality of life stuff, maybe some small parts changes, it's not going to be changing that drastically. Feel free to mod some things if you want. We have a really good community for that kind of thing. Speaking of which, if you don't know about the project, a self-source machine comes with plastic Z brackets first, right? And whilst that's fine if you're on a bootstrapping build, it means you're limited to 60mm on your Z axis, and you get a lot of flex in that column for things like drilling. So one of our community members designed these. These are FMJs, full metal jackets. They're big plates that go down the side of the Z column and reinforce it entirely, right? These will come with the stock LDO kit, hence why they're in this box here, and they're a worthwhile upgrade. If you do go down the self-source route, and you're in the States, somewhere like Send Cut Send will do these for decently cheap, but you're not going to beat the kind of bulk prices you get with kits. Right? These are aluminium as well, 6mm aluminium. Right? Reason for aluminium over something like a mild steel is just that they're easier to ship because they're a lot less heavy in this form. And we want to keep prices down for you guys whilst kind of optimizing the performance for basically best bang for buck. Right, so let's drop these on the side. Right. And we've got steppers over here. Now, question we get all the time is about steppers and stepper drivers and things like that. These are NEMA 23 motors. Typical amperage for a NEMA 23 is 2.8 amps. We spec 2209s. Now, if you know anything about drivers, you know that 2209s don't put out 2.8 amps. That's absolutely fine though, right? Once you get past 50% current, or the rated current, it's a fairly linear increase in power. So if you put 70% of the rated current in, you're going to get 70% of the performance, give or take a few. It's not an exact science, but it's fairly close, right? And that's more than enough for these motors to drive Milo, right? If you're still worried or you're doing a whole bunch of cuts that require more torque, what you can do is you can just get 5160 step sticks and replace them later on in the lifespan of your Milo. Don't overspec these motors, right? We've had so many people on the Discord overspec their motors, crash their machines, and then rip their machines apart, and then have to rebuild their machines, and they get bent lead screws and things like that. Right? These are absolutely fine the way they are. Right, next box. Well, since we've done drivers already, since we just talked about the drivers, let's talk about the control board. Right. So this is the Melo Fly CDY V3. If you've never heard of Melo before, they make quite a few products actually. For the RepRap firmware side, they work with a team called Team Gloomy. And they do an STM32 port for RepRap firmware. And what this allows you to do is get a decent firmware, a very decent firmware. We're going to be updating people soon on what we have planned for RepRap firmware. because what we have now currently isn't what we're going to do. Hardware will stay the same though. We just want to make it more kind of feature rich for you guys. So we do have plans. Those will be announced on the main Millennium channel at some stage in the next few weeks. Right. What next? What next? What next? So, some stuff that doesn't come with the self-source build. The power supply is a completely different one to what you'll find in the self-source build, right? These are more compact. They produce a whole lot less heat. I just didn't know about them at the time when I was putting the bomb together, but these are actually really damn good. So, LDO's provided them for you. They're going to make their own mounts for it. Yeah, I will be using these in future though. Are there general controllers that might work with CNC rotors as well? I have a machine that could benefit from that. It depends what route you want to go down. So we're kind of working on developing for RepRap firmware first and foremost, because most people who are building Milo will be coming from 3D printing background anyway. So RepRap firmware kind of gives you the ability to have like a web interface, not have to have your laptop next to your machine, things like that. We're also working on trying to get Linux CNC sorted. Linux CNC is a lot more complicated. It's more for the people who have experience with big CNC machines, because if you've ever heard of Tormach used something called the Tormach software is based off of Linux CNC. Yeah, I forget what they're called. Flight something. Why are you not using the machines at your place? Because I live in a flat and I don't have an enclosure built yet. And I can't afford to build an enclosure just yet either, so it's going to be kind of an incremental thing. Hopefully by the time this Milo gets built, I'll have saved up enough cash to do that. Right. Path Pilot, that was it. Right. I'll save that for last because that's actually what I'm most excited for. Right, fasteners. So, 11 by 10 drag chains for all axes. You only need one per axis. And those are the same spec. If you have a Voron switch wire, they're the same spec as the switch wire ones. It comes with a big bag of fasteners as well. If this is the same set of fasteners I got with the original kit, Jason, they're absolutely fine. More than fine, they're perfect for the job. They're all nickel-plated steel fasteners, so they won't rust, and you get the kind of dark, nice dark color as well that you get from like a black oxide without the rust issues on top of that. My son's name is Milo, just another reason to get one. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Perfect. Electronics. So, those are the drivers for the electronics board. Those 2209s. What's this? Oh yeah. So, this is a kind of, this is an LDO special. This is 2 relays and what else was it? An analog converter and a probe input, right? So all your power comes through one end to your ground and 24 volt, powers the whole board. On this end, you will use it to control the spindle speed, things like that. You need to convert, because you're using 3D printer boards, you need to convert your PWM signal to a 0 to 10 volt analog signal. and that's what this center part is for. You also need to provide an enable signal, and it needs to be tied to the ground of the VFD, right? So that's why you have the relay. And then there's a spare relay for if you want to put an air blast or something like that. So you have a bit of expansion there. Hey Steve, how you doing? All right, then you've got 2 fans, some Wago connectors, what looks like a UK plug. I think this is for the end user to do themselves. SD card, a load of crimps, which I assume are for the expansion board, and your e-stop as well. Don't forego an e-stop, right? There are STLs for the table that don't have the e-stop built in, or a space for the e-stop. Please don't forego this, right? It's really important. Almost forgot, we still back beginning later. I will have to wait, but watch back to the beginning. Ah, fair enough. Right, that's all the electronics done. All right. If you don't know what a VFD is, this is it. It's effectively a speed controller. For the spindle, you'll feed this your analog signal coming from your board to control the spindle speed itself, the enable signal coming from the relay, and then you need to set it up yourself. I think LDO will provide their own setup for it. So you should be able to just punch in a few settings and get it up and running fairly quickly. If you're not, please invest in a decent inverter, especially one that has a decent manual, because these things are really, really, really hard to, as a newbie, learn to program. You don't know you need an e-stop until you're scrambling for an e-stop. Yes, definitely true. Right. We'll go Long John tool setter next. Now, on top of the Milo itself, you also have Long John. Now, Long John is our version of a tool setter. It uses the Heart-K, a version of the Heart-K mod, Heart-K sex bolt mod. In an enclosure, you place it on the table itself, and then that way, if you change from tool to tool, and you don't quite know what your Z offset is going to be, because remember, as long as your tool stays on center, is required to stay on center. So if you have the center of a cylinder, for example, that center is going to stay the same no matter what the diameter is going to be. So if you change to a larger tool, a smaller tool, that's going to be exactly the same, and you can your G code will account for the size of that tool, but you may end up putting that tool in higher or lower than the previous tool. So you need a way to automatically measure that height so it can return to the work without you having to manually do it every single time. LDO's gone a step further with these, and made them optical end stops. So they're going to be a lot more, they'll last a lot longer. West 3D, looking forward to having this in the store. Can't wait to see how kits turn out. Man, I can't wait either. Trust me, it's been a long time coming, and we need these kits out by now, so I can work on bigger machines, better machines. Right, tools next. So, we have a fudge ton of zip ties, some a little toolkit filled with some Allen keys if you don't have any, and three different sizes of heat insert tools, right? Because there are 3 different sizes. You'll have M3, M5, and M2.5 air inserts to put in on this machine. Right. You also have all your bearings, all your locking collars, Flange bearings, which are used in certain points of the build. Spider couplers. Those are really important. These are beefy ones as well. And then belts and idlers and pulleys for the Z-axis motor. And there's also a nice little hex tool with some LDO branding on it. Nice. Perfect. Now, I was confused when I opened this box up earlier because there's a bit of DIN rail in it, and I have no idea what this DIN rail is for. This is something that LDO does. The normal build doesn't have DIN rails in it. So, I wonder what that's for. Also looks like they've got some cable channels set up. So in the LDO build, if you haven't made anything from LDO before, they tend to have a slightly separate what's it called, manual for the added stuff that they do. So it looks like they're going to include some cable duct to help clean up the wiring, and there's also some extrusion covers as well. I'm guessing these will go on the table, because those do get filled in with chips quite a lot. Without locking anybody to anything, is the price point on this more than 1,700 USD? You'll have to ask the vendors. LDO has said that they'll be around about 1,200, but the vendors themselves will be able to change that price point too. Right, we'll do these three bits together. Now, you're working with a mill. Never ever wear long sleeves whilst you're working with a mill, and always wear a decent set of safety glasses, which will come with the kit. Right, these look pretty good actually. Right, they come with their own case and all. Nice. Perfect. Right, and then we have a test indicator. Now, it's good idea to get a normal dial indicator as well as a test indicator with these kinds of builds. Test indicator will be good for when you're sweeping across the bed to put your tram in, and a dial indicator will be really good for other things. We recommended that LDO at least have one of these in the kit, right? So if you are looking at expanding later on, the first thing you should probably build is, buy is probably a normal test indicator. Sorry, a normal indicator. Right. And then the CNC starter set. Now, this will come with our recommendation of end mills. So you'll have a couple single flutes, 6mm end mills. Right, of various length, a couple of 3.175 mils, a chamfer bit, and a ball nose bit as well. All right, they're all DLC coated, so should work fine across various loads of different materials. Perfect. Finally, I get to use my dial indicator after 10 years of having purchased it. Fair enough. Right. I'm not sure if I was meant to get two of these, but I got two, in this kit, I got two 10mm gauge pins. Now, these are precision gauge pins, right? Make sure these are oiled at all times. If they get even the slightest amount of rust on them, there's a good chance that they'll be out of spec, right? There's millions of different uses for these. You can be really creative with them. Don't scratch them. If you're manually setting the Z height for an operation, you can use these. If you need to have something set exactly 10mm away from something else, use these for them. The sky's the limit with these kind of things. Right. Various thicknesses of shims. Now, we've discussed this with LDO. Because we're getting the fixated plates as standard, it's going to be easier for you guys to tram the plate itself rather than the Z column, because the Z column can be quite finicky and we don't want it falling on you guys either by accident. So these are various thicknesses of aluminium sheet, right? You'll stick them under the corners of your fixture plate and they'll be able to flatten out and tram the work surface that way. You'll also come with two really good, 9mm measured these with his Mr. Toyo calipers the other day. They are spot on for size. These are called 1, 2, 3 blocks. They're really good for raising work pieces off of your fixture plate, so you're not damaging the fixture plate by accident. They're really good for, again, they're a kind of thing. They're very used by machinists. They're really good to have around. They will save you 9 times out of 10 in a day. Didn't you say the fixated plate was an add-on? I don't think it's an add-on. I think it's part of the kit. It's definitely part of the kit, as far as I've been told. You do get 2 extra collets with this machine as well. Now the collets are what you'll be using to place your tooling inside. Tooling goes in the collet goes in the spindle. It looks like there's a 3mm and a 6mm spare, and then there's also a collet inside the spindle, which we'll get to in a second. These are ER16, right? Most of the time, when you've got a 1.5 kilowatt spindle, you're going to be limited to ER11, right? Which has a maximum clamping range of 7mm. ER16 bumps that maximum clamping range up to 9mm, which is a godsend for a little machine. It's so good. Right. And then this whole box can go to the side now. Right, last but not least, from the main 2 boxes, we have the cable kit. If you're like me, this is the best bit of this whole kit. I love it. Everything comes pre-terminated, everything comes pre-crimped, and they're all the correct sizes, right? Everything is labeled Z-min, Z motor. It's all prepped and ready for you just to go straight at it. A lot of them are what look to be very, very good quality cables as well. Jason, did you go with the waterproof switches in the end? I don't think you did you? No. There's also a VFD cable. And this has a proper ground on it as well. Perfect. Awesome. One thing I will say about a VFD cable, so a VFD takes 3 phase power. So it normally takes in 1 phase from the wall. The VFD chops it up into 3 phase and then passes that onto the spindle. Normally spindle connections are W, U, and V. You can change any of these around, right? Make sure you've got ground connected to the right place, but these 3 can go anywhere as long as they're attached to the VFD, right? So W can go in U, U can go in V, so on and so on. If your motor is spinning the wrong way, if your spindle is spinning the wrong way, flip any 2 of these wires and it will work. I'm so excited by that. Jason, USA still not getting the... So, we haven't been able to source a decent VFD for the States. So your kits will be cheaper because you won't be coming with a VFD or spindle. But the sad news is it won't be coming with a VFD or spindle. You'll have to source one of those for yourself, I'm afraid. What is the spindle size? I'm just about to get onto the spindle. Give me 1 second. Where did I put it? There it is. Yeah, it's 120 volt related. Right. So, that's your spindle. It's a 1.5 kilowatt spindle. But you may notice if you've ever worked with spindles before, this is a lot thicker than your typical 1.5 kilowatts. This is as thick as what 2.2 kilowatt spindles would normally be, right? Reason being, these have actual proper angular contact bearings inside them. A lot of the bearings that you'll find in the cheapo Chinese spindles will be plain ball bearings, right? And those cannot take the forces that milling provides. You'd end up having to replace them eventually. These ones come with the angular contact bearings already installed in them, which is a rare thing to find. Like I said earlier, it's ER16, and these are 80 mil, right? So if you go on GitHub and you're starting to print parts, so in preparation for the kit, print the 80 millimeter mounts. Awesome. So that is the entirety of the kit so far. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to spend 10 minutes answering those, and then I will let you guys go for the evening. Thank you so much for all coming, by the way. It was great having you all here. I'm going to have a seat. Right, any questions, shoot them in the chat, and I will try my best to answer them. Is that an air-cooled or water-cooled? It's an air-cooled spindle. We wanted kits that were the easiest to set up, as easy to set up as possible. So we went with air-cooled spindles. It doesn't mean you can't go with water-cooled. It just means you have to source your own water pump and your own radiators or bucket. You can use the bucket cooling method. It works pretty good. What is the overall footprint of the CNC? It depends how big you make the x-axis. So effectively, you need to move the x-axis whole table length from one side to another. It's kind of a sideways bed slinger in that way, and that takes around about a meter 200, if I remember correctly. But the actual machine itself will only take about, I'm going to mix imperial and metric units here, which is going to annoy people. It's only going to take about 2 feet of width. Podrick R3G, I'm late to the party. I need one. When can I get one? I already have mods designed and got a test. Ask Jason, right? He'll be getting kits out to a few creators first. And there may be a shop opening up in the UK from someone that we may all know selling the kits as well. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Have you timed what the average estimate average build time for the kit? I built mine in 3 days, right? 3 days of 4-hour sessions, easy. If you're looking at building it on stream, you'll be fine. I've also built one, my third one I managed to build in, I think it was 8 hours of straight building. Where can the US folks purchase? We haven't shipped any kits to any vendors yet, right? So as of yet, they haven't been shipped out, but they will be shipping soon, right? I know Fabrico is going to be selling a few. I think West 3D said that they were going to be selling a few as well. 1,200 if you're in the EU, that's with the spindle, I think. That depends again on the resellers, right? The resellers may up that price by a few hundred. Okay, marathon live stream it is. I will be there the whole time, as long as it's not clashing with other people, because I've been pre-booked by other people. West 3D, yep, that's the plan. So you're going to be selling kits, perfect, in the US. Any other questions? Even if it's a small question, shoot it in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer. I'll give it 2 more minutes. VFD spec for us. It's a 1.5K VFD, right? Not too sure if it takes RS485. You don't need to worry about RS485 because RRF doesn't support it at this moment in time. I'll bribe Jason to send mine out first. Perfect. Are we splitting the dev team into build streams? Yes, maybe. I don't know. The F&J and fixture plates will be sold separately. You'll have to ask Jason that, but they are sold separately at a few different vendors at the moment. So Fabrico and DFH will be selling them separately. There will be a vendor in the UK which should be selling them separately, but they're not out there yet. Will be my first mill. Any good resources on learning prep for arrival? NYCNC on YouTube. Winston Moy. This old Tony has a very good basics video for CNC. It's great. Inheritance Machining does manual milling stuff, but it's really good to kind of get the creativity of fixturing in your head. Titans of CNC, they're a bit more flashy. They're not everyone's cup of tea. They're more about getting people's attention than they are about teaching you a lot of the time. They have got a lot better recently though. So if you want to just watch shits fly on big machines that are multiple tons, they're a good place to watch. They also do have a full curriculum, so you can go on their website and they'll teach you how to do things. They teach for industrial machines. Bear in mind, Milo isn't an industrial machine. A lot of rules and things. So if you look at like the machinist handbook, for example, they'll quote chip loads that are unattainable on Milo. We have to think about the way we mill things very differently. A good place to learn as well is just the Discord. Go on the Discord, see what people are making. There is a cam and setup channel on there. Ask them. There's always a friendly person on there. Will there be a smaller version? No. Milo is what I personally think is the smallest entry-level mill that you can get. Right? Anything smaller and you just don't have the weight for dampening. A lot of Carbide 3D content is pretty applicable. Yes, so Winston Moy works with Carbide 3D now, so he did all the tutorials for a while. And he uses the same kind of tactics. So either of those two channels, Winston Moy or Carbide 3D. Inventables, Inventables is weird because they're a lot of makers, and a lot of the time they give bad advice, I'd say, from the things I've seen on there. They don't understand basic concepts like chip load, so I'd be reticent of Inventables if I was you. Will LDO have a post-processor for Fusion? We provide a post-processor. We are currently reworking almost everything that we do on the software side, right? There will be, like I said earlier, there's going to be an entire update video on the main Millennium Machines official channel. So me and 9 Mile is working on that. We're basically going to be creating an add-on file for RepRap firmware, which allows you to do probing quite easily, allows for variable spindle speed during cut, so that's turning your spindle speed up and down to get away to kind of quieten down vibrations. Any sneak peeks for Milo V2? No. Just no. Not right now. No. Milo V2 is, we announced it a long time ago. It's not going to be something that's going to be done by the end of this year. It's a whole long thing. What would it take to integrate Maso control? Go on the Discord, look for a guy called Alex Treber. He has a Maso and servos on his Milo. Your name keeps throwing me. My name's Andrew Krashik? It's the whole, can you read the paragraph with only first and last letters in right location? Oh, fair. Going to add Z height compensation for engraving PCBs. Yes, you can do that. You will be able to do that with the stuff that we're adding to our RepRap firmware. Not super worried about this. Someone always adds things in with FLO mods later. Nice. It might not be something we add entirely. What we're going to do is we're going to release this kind of block, and not. We're going to release it as a beta first, so that you guys can understand how it, so you guys can get it and test it for us. Because we're a very small team, we kind of need more and more people to help out. We need to catch those oddities. We're not like Voron, who uses a set firmware and the firmware gets tested by a whole lot of people. We're doing our own thing entirely. All right. Any last questions? What's the benefit of RRF over Gerbil? Gerbil's an old firmware. Gerbil is just an old firmware. Right, there's a lot of stuff that's missing in there. It's getting less and less supported every year. Right, it also requires you to have a laptop or a Raspberry Pi or something plugged into the controller, which can cause a whole load of EMI issues that we've noticed from. There are more recent projects, Fluid NC, Fluid with 2 Ds, I think, as well as Gerbil HAL are all updated versions of Gerbil. Again, it comes down to where are you coming from? Are you coming from the 3D printing world, or are you coming from the CNC world? If you're coming from the CNC world, go Gerbil or Linux CNC. I'd probably push more towards Linux CNC because there's more support for it. And it's a more feature-rich program. But if you're coming from the 3D printing world, I think go RepRap firmware first, and then you can push yourself up to Linux CNC. Gerbil HAL, yeah, Gerbil HAL. If you're going the Linux CNC route, will there eventually be a jog pendant? If you're going for the Gerbil HAL version, it's going to be really easy to add a jog pendant. It's one of those things that you can probably get cheaper than we can make. So probably go down that route. If you're going with RepRap firmware, it's a web server. You can use your phone. Yeah, Gerbil is really only code playback and doesn't have any UI at all, unlike RRF. Yes, exactly. You can get decent UIs, like UGS, Universal G-Code Sender, is pretty good. Ah, hey Nero, caught us just at the end of the stream. Yeah, I have a printer with RRF and I love it. I wasn't aware it could run CNC. Sounds awesome. Yes, so when you're looking at your config.g in RepRap firmware, if you add, I think, don't quote me on this, it's M508 to that config, it automatically, every power up, converts it over to CNC mode. There's a really dope pendant for Fluid NC called Fluid Die. Awesome, right? We're not completely set on, we're not upholden to any single firmware. We went with RepRap firmware because we thought it was going to be the easiest for people going from the kind of Clipper / Marlin world into CNC. That doesn't mean we will always support it. It means that if there's a controller that comes along and a firmware that comes along that's a whole lot better, we will move to that. If I was you, Alex Estabrook, Eastbrook, sorry, I would probably go with the kit, because the kit's going to be, it has a whole lot of extra features. It's going to be a whole lot cheaper for what you're getting. And it's going to have everything that you need. So put it like this, the kits that I've been self-sourcing were about 1,000 to 1,500 British pounds. Granted, it is a lot more expensive to get those things in the UK, a lot of the parts in the UK. And that was without any of the upgrades. So that was without a fixture plate on it. That was without FMJs. That was without a PWM converter. Whereas the LDO kits will be about 1,200 euros. Granted, give or take a few hundred because of the vendors. But they will come with everything already in there. You're about to be crushed for Nero 3D's channel. A bunch. Oh, we've got a Nero 3D raid. Welcome all, welcome all. I'm just about to finish up here. I was just about to finish up. If anyone has any questions, if anyone is following on to following Milo beforehand, you can ask them now. We're just doing kind of, we've gone through the kit. If you want to rewatch that, you can do it another time. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. Vector 3D, yes. Nero called dibs first, though. Nero was the first guy we contacted. Well, actually, no, he contacted me. Is there a touchscreen compatible interface with Milo so I could manually do move that speed doing something? You could. You probably could. The Melo does sell touchscreen boards, but they come. The interface for them is a 3D printing interface. So I'm not too sure how useful that would be. Just be sure to free up Sundays at 6 PM your time is all I have to say. That'll be fine. I can do Saturdays and Sundays. I work, well, I can do Thursdays and Fridays for the next 6 weeks, and then Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays after that. I posted the first Smurf interview. Technically, no, you didn't. The first Smurf interview was 60 seconds with Joel. L. Oh my god, so many people are subscribing. Thank you very much, everyone. This is really, really, really cool. I mean, I started today with like 90 subscribers and we're up to 167. Well, this is unexpected. Right, F&G can be laser cut and some people stocked up some to send it around. Yeah, so we do, a lot of people on the Discord server in Europe have been doing some, what's it called, some group buys, because it's a lot cheaper to do that from places like Exometry in Europe. If you're going to do that, make sure you're going for the mild steel options, because believe it or not, it's cheaper to get the mild steel options than it is to get the aluminium versions, and you'll get a lot more benefit from the mild steel ones. Or they're just about as expensive as each other. The reason we went with the aluminium ones in the kits is because if we went with the steel versions, it would be too heavy to send. So it's that kind of compromise of we wanted to get kits out to you, but we also wanted you to get the most performance for like a starting kit. It's an impressive machine. We all want to follow the updates. Hop on the Discord if you're following the updates. It's the most active place for us at the moment, right? I've told work that I'm going to be dropping a day during the week, just so that I can get stuff sorted with Milo. I've got more design stuff to do and a whole lot more other stuff that will be shown later on down the line in about 2 weeks' time. I'll need to put a link to the Discord to help you guys out. Perfect. What I'll do that now. How do I pin things? Oh no, pinned the wrong thing. I pinned my own messages. Oh well. The Discord link is in the thing. I have no idea how to pin messages on YouTube. I am very, very new to all this. Steve, the spindle holder is big chunk, and there's an end plate for all 3 axes. That's most of it, yeah. If you have the chance, there's something called the Hearts of Iron mod, which is basically a way to keep the same facades and covers that you would on the normal build for the spindle holder, but you have some aluminium inserts that go in between the printed parts, which hold it a lot more rigid. It's not going to come with the LDO kit, because it's one of those things that's a nice first project to do, and they're really, really simple to make. 2 kgs of plastic, roughly, yeah. So that's going to be split up, though, into 3 rolls, because you've got an accent color and you've got a base color, just like you do of Vorons. So it's more going to be, you're going to have to buy 3 rolls for it if you're doing it that way. There's also an option to go for a square spindle. That is a mod, right? And remember, when you're doing the square spindle, because of the way Milo is designed, it's the square spindle, the actual center of the cutting center is a bit further back, which means you're not going to get as much Y clearance. Material recommendation for the parts: ABS. Right, we tried PLA for a while for anything that didn't come into contact with heat, but it had really bad creep issues. All right, so ABS or ASA kind of eliminated those. We've seen a few people go for carbon-filled versions. The carbon-filled versions didn't shrink the way we were expecting them to, so the inserts didn't work. So if you're going with the carbon-filled versions, make sure you're oversizing your inserts or edit the parts to have slightly smaller holes for the inserts. Skittles Milo, definitely. If you do not build a Skittles Milo, I will be very angry. You've committed to it now. Oh my god, we're at 190 subscribers now. Oh my god. This is madness. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Deal. Perfect. You don't want to see him when he's angry. Right. Gotta get DLL PDF to coat your extrusions. They do have, so all our vendors that want to work with us do have a little vendor channel. If you want to chat to a specific vendor, kick them in the arse, make sure that they get their asses in gear and get kits out to you. Please feel free to. Just be nice to them. That's all I ask. Right, any other questions? I know I've said that like a million times now, but it was July 2022. Oh yeah, I messaged you on my birthday, I think. I think I remember that. What is your experience related to machine design? Just curious what you do for work. So I'm one of the only members of the team, despite the fact that I created the team, I'm one of the only ones who's not a traditionally designed engineer of some kind. So we've got people who are traditional engineers in the kind of mechanical sense. We've got software developers, we've got all that. This is really embarrassing to say, actually. I work in the outdoors. My degree is as an outdoor instructor. That's what I've been doing for the last few years. I got into 3D printing as a joke because I was working at a camp between my first and second year of uni. And where we were working, we earned nothing. I think it was £600 a month. And we lived in tents for like 3 or 4 months during the summer. Every weekend we would be allowed to go into town, and we would be told, you've got to fend for yourself. So we'd go into town, which was a 2-hour walk away, and walk back in, and inevitably we'd forget things like knives, forks, bowls, things like that. There was an old dude who had a CR10 in the village nearby to us, to the camp, and I saw it on Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, why not? I bought it, and the whole idea was we would buy it, put it in the only socket that we had to charge our phones and things like that, and then we would print knives, forks, bowls, and things like that. And the whole idea was we would throw it out the window when the camp was over. I ended up keeping that. COVID hit. I decided to teach myself how to do CAD, and that's where we got to. That's what got me hooked, and that's where I am now. So your job is more fun and better for your health? No, it is. I work with kids. There is no health benefits to working with kids. I'm constantly sick. MSRP for the kit. What LDO has told us is that it's going to be around about 1,200 euros for the European kit and $1,000 for the North American kit. The reason for that is the North American kit won't be coming with a spindle because we haven't been able to source a VFD. Reason being is 120 volt versus 220 volt. Basically, we are still looking to source something. Hey, I have a CR10, my little whip stomach. It was my first printer. I printed it to do a Prusa beer mod on it. So it was all the Prusa beer parts. I still have it actually, but now I've got a Trident and a Chiditech X Smart and a switch wire conversion. What about the UK? There's going to be one vendor in the UK. I'm not going to say who that vendor is, but there's going to be one vendor in the UK. We haven't... Oh, sorry, they haven't set a price yet. Right, we're at 196. Can we make 200 by the end of the day? That would be a dream come true. Fingers crossed for that vendor. Fingers crossed, definitely. Perfect. Right, any other Milo specific questions? I know I went on a tangent there. 197. Right. Tool setter. We have a tool setter. Do you mean tool changer? Tool changer. We're working on something. Alright. Not for V1.5. I'm going to be honest with you guys, V1.5 is done in terms of features. Because the reason being is V1.5 was designed for self-sourcing. Right? We had to design it for self-sourcing so we get products out to you guys, so we can get machines out to you guys. Going forward, we can design with the thinking about having LDO on our side or other companies on our side to help us with things. So we can design for kits rather than designing for self-sourcing. Right? Gotta call mine Skylo. Skittles my... Yes. Yes. I'm waiting for someone from South Africa or from Australia to actually make a cup of Milo on Milo. Right. Thanks very much, Iconic. Yeah. It's been a long journey, trust me. So I'm glad people are liking Milo. Also, 202 subscribers. We made it. We made it. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. This is awesome. That's over 100 subscribers in a single day, which is twice as many as I had before. More than twice as many. Thank you very much. First time seeing this. Very cool. Is there a ballpark price for a fully built kit? What do you mean by fully built? Do you mean fully built as in you're buying the whole thing already made? Or you're buying the kit to be made by yourself? Or is it pre-assembled or not pre-assembled is what I'm really asking. Any cheap and easy rails, guards to put on to stop swarf going into the rails. You can get rubber extrusion guards. The kit does come with some. Pre-assembled, no. There are no pre-assembled kits. I'm a prototype machinist. This machine is the first at its price point to make me want one. Very impressive. Thank you very much, Andy. We were so surprised when we went to Smurf and we had people who worked in the CNC industry who were like, you know what? A machine like this would be great for teaching because you can let a room full of students and novices loose on the machine, and if something breaks, your bill is at most 200 quid. Whereas if you were training someone on a Tormark, on a sill, on a Haas or something like that, you're looking at 5 grand as your minimum repair cost, sorry. Would be a nightmare to ship pre-assembled. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so in terms of LDO printed parts, so far I know of 3. I'm guessing there's going to be a DIN mount for the board as well, for the electronics, for all the electronics, because there was a DIN rail included in the kit and we don't spec a DIN rail normally. I'm guessing there's going to be a mount for the PWM converter and the relay board. So there's going to be a few printed parts. If you don't have the ability to print ABS, we do have an unofficial PIF program, and we're also going to have an unofficial MIF program going soon. So you'll be able to just throw a request into one of those channels. Someone will DM you. It's unofficial, so we can't back anyone at this point in time, at least. But a lot of people have got through that. Oh, you think the DIN rail's full of VFD? Okay, perfect. What should someone expect to budget to build one of these? It depends where you are. 1,500 euros in Europe, 1,200, 1,300 in the UK of pounds, and then in the US, you guys tend to be able to get things a lot cheaper than we do in terms of like the semi-industrial self-source parts. So I'm guessing around $1,200. That's a guess though. I can't actually substantiate that with anything. Sorry if I missed any details. Is there a price for the LDO kit? What we've been told is 1,200 for the European customers. Roughly. The vendors are free to choose the actual price. Because remember, LDO doesn't sell the kits. They sell kits. They don't sell them directly to consumers. They sell kits to vendors, and then vendors sell them on. And then in the US, about $1,000 is what they've said around about. But that's because you guys aren't getting a spindle with the kit because we couldn't find a decent VFD for you guys. So you'll have to source the VFD and spindle yourselves. Right. There's a lot of hand waving going on at the moment, isn't there? Is there a link to the kit net? Yeah, no. So this is the final beta kit. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to count all the screws and count everything, send that list back to Jason from LDO. Shout out to Jason, by the way. He's going to confirm it along with all the other team members. A few of the other team members also have kits that they're checking out. We're going to confirm everything with them, and then they'll make their announcements when they're ready. They have said soon, though, just like Phil said. Also, big shout out to Jason. even bigger shout out to Dave from LDO, because Dave from LDO has been the one we've had the most contact with, and he seems to not get as much kickback from it. Jason, awesome. Dave, awesome. Everyone that we work with from LDO, bloody awesome. If anyone wants an idea of what the machine can actually do, head over to our website. I will link it in the bits of in a second. Well, you have vendors in South Africa? No, but I went to high school in South Africa, and it's my my reunion next year, so I should be able to get a kit out there if you need to. Next year, though. Anybody at Smurf had a chance to meet him in person? I'm assuming you're talking to Dave, about Dave. Yeah, David, he is awesome. He came to my house a few months ago, so we could talk about Milo, and he's just a really nice guy. Again, if you're anywhere near the Eastern Cape in South Africa, I'm going there next year. I can bring a kit. Perfect. Right. I think I'm gonna call it here. Thank you all for coming. Yep. Thank you all for coming. It's been grand having everyone here. We started the stream off with about 90 something subscribers, and we've gone all the way past 200 now, which is awesome. There in the description you can also find a few things to support me. You can support the project on there. There's my PayPal link. There's a link to the Discord, I think, down there, and a link to my Patreon as well. If you don't want to support me, or you don't have the money to, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. Thank you all again for coming. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, the whole of the Millennium team. You guys have been so supportive the last year and a bit. It's really, really touched my heart, especially during some of my rough times. So thank you, all of you. And thank you to the whole community for just being there. It's been awesome. I'll let you guys go, and good night. Sleep tight.